Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Remember, you have greatness inside of you. Welcome back to another AB Daily News with your hockey coach, Guru Coach Frenchy. Today, episode number 249. What you have in the menu, coach? We're going to consider my week of the trade bait. Today, we're going to talk about Josh Anderson and finally some news about the Montreal Canadiens. But before we start, we invite you, don't forget please to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey National Show, and leave me a comment about this episode. And let's dive in, talk about my first subject of the day. My first subject of the day, guys, about the Montreal Canadiens trade bait. We know the trade deadline is going to be until March 3rd, 2023. This week, we talk about Dadonov with Calgary, Edmondson with Pittsburgh, Monahan with Boston. Today, I'm talking about Josh Anderson, another player possible that can use, could trade before the end of the trade deadline in the NHL. First of all, Anderson, 28 years old. He has a contract of $5.5 million for the next 4 years. When he's going to complete his contract, he's going to be 32 years old. And the last season, he has an average about 20 goals per season, some with the Montreal Canadiens, some with the Columbus Blue Jackets. His highest goal in one season is 27 with the Columbus Blue Jackets 5 years ago. First of all, the destination for me, many teams can use to ask about Josh Anderson. But when I look about friend team in NHL, the best destination, one for the New Jersey Devils, first of all. Second, for the Montreal Canadiens, I think Anderson could be a very good additional player for the roster for the New Jersey in the next couple of years. What happening with New Jersey, guys? If you look about their roster, they have a lot of great talent over there. Jack Hughes, Nico Shire, Jesper Pratt, Sharakovich, and I can go all the way like this. But when you look about it a bit more deeper, you can see they are not big as the winger side. They don't only have two winger over 6'2". One of them is Sharakovich. Sharakovich guy is not a very big for checker and physical thing to bring a Josh Anderson, a big 6'3", play physical, big forward, for checker. Now, what the New Jersey has when you look deeper inside the organization, first of all, they still have the first round and the second round pick for the next 3 years. They have a lot of great goalie and the prospect, Nico Dawes, Schmidt. Both of them are 22 years old. Finally, they have a lot of great prospect in this organization as a position defenseman and as a position of forward. I think Montreal could be happy to get some of them if they trade Josh Anderson to the New Jersey Devils. But what Montreal can get in return, coach? But first of all, definitely you have to get a first round pick for Josh Anderson. Whatsoever the team get him, we need to get a first round pick. Then I think Anderson, because he's a little bit as front players as a forward, everything will out to have him. I think Montreal could get in return 3 front players. The second player I want to talk about is the goalie. I think Montreal could get a goalie like Nico Dawes, we talk about him, or Schmidt. And they could add another prospect. Alexandre Holtz was a top 10 draft pick overall. Possible at that moment they can trade Holtz with the first one pick and skip the goalies. But they have something differently. Both team could negotiate and to get a great result for both team at the end of the day. Anderson bring a lot of physicality. It's one area that New Jersey Devils struggle. They don't have a team, I believe, at this moment, at this season, they can go deep in the playoff because they don't have those kind of the players like Anderson as a winger. On the flip side, Montreal to get a New Jersey first round pick that would add another one and 2023, and to add another player like Olds that bring another great prospect on this organization. I would like to finishing this first subject about what is the negativity if the Montreal Canadiens lost Josh Anderson. Then I want to talk about the negativity of the Montreal Canadiens about if they trade Josh Anderson. First of all, he's on his prime, 28, 29 years old in the next 2 years. Thirdly, his leadership inside the locker room and on the ice. Then his physicality play on the ice. Very physical. Win the battle against the board. Is a great forechecker. And during the playoff, of course, Anderson elevate his game, and we don't have a lot of players like him in NHL. If the Montreal Canadiens trade him, I can promise you one thing. The next day, Montreal are looking for another player like Josh Anderson. And that's what may be the problem if you trade Josh Anderson. We don't have a lot of players like him as a winger with the Montreal Canadiens. So my question to you guys, do you feel it's better for the Montreal Canadiens trade Josh Anderson, or is it better for Montreal Canadiens keep Josh Anderson and wait a little bit longer, possibly to trade him when he would be a little bit more older? That's what the biggest question. So leave me a comments about my first subject of the day. What do you think? Montreal Canadiens should or should not trade Josh Anderson? Let's move on now, guys, for my next subject of the day. My last subject of the day, guys, about the Montreal Canadiens news. First of all, the Montreal Canadiens are back on the ice after a couple of days in vacation. We know Montreal play 2-game back-to-back during the weekend. Montreal are going to give us some kind of news and update about strength injuries for Gallagher, Monahan, Edmondson, Drouin, Armia. If some of them can join the teams on the weekend, it played with the Montreal Canadiens. Really interesting to know more about Edmondson and Monahan situation, their condition, because we know it's a too big asset Montreal could trade before the end of the trade deadline this year. And finally, this is the Super Bowl weekend. We want to remind you, the Hockey Nation Show is going to do the play-by-play commentary Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Montreal hosts the New York Islanders. They won the last 4 games, and then Sunday, the next day, they play again at 12:30 p.m. Again, the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton Oilers won the last 9 of the 10 games. 2 hot team right now in NHL. Here we go, guys. This concludes my AB Daily News of the day. Hopefully you enjoy it. We talk about Josh Anderson trade bait for the Montreal Canadiens. A couple of news around the Montreal Canadiens news. But before we leave, we invite you, don't forget, please, to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey Nation Show, and leave me a comment about this episode. And I want to remind you, of course, you have greatness inside of you, and we wish you an amazing, great, blessing day, everybody.